The Chosen has been doing a new series called In My Words, and of course they've been going through each character in the show so far. They've only done 4 of these so far, but I do think it's quite interesting. So let's jump into Luke Dimian's episode on Judas and kind of what they're doing with him here. Find it interesting. Let's jump in.
AB Common Marker.
I'm Luke Dimian, and I play Judas Iscariot for the time being, until I die.
We'll just have you do another take.
That's so funny, dude.
Luke Dimian and I play Judas Iscariot.
You nailed that one, dude. That was really good.
I think he loves very deeply. Like, he truly, with all his heart, has no ulterior motives. Like, he will wear his heart in his sleeve. He's loud, he's not.
Obviously, I believe that Luke is a little bit biased. I think that there is definitely a piece of selfishness from Judas. I don't think it's all sort of like he's, wanting everyone to be like, super chill and like he just loves everybody deeply. I think there's definitely a piece of Judas that's like, nah, I want what I want. I want power. I want to be a huge part of this kingdom. I want Jesus to do exactly what I want him to do, right? Which is a big part of this, but yeah.
Not very cunning, he's just honest. Although sometimes maybe his honesty can be a bit abrasive and can get him into trouble sometimes. He just wants a big brother, father figure to like lean on because his life is an absolute mess and he's not happy with where he is currently. It's interesting to see how little he has to really offer the group. He has ideas, and then everybody's like, no, those are terrible ideas.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Throughout most of the series so far, he's basically been trying to take command and take control of certain things, or at least offer to be the ideas guy. And he's gotten shut down every time. Why? Because these ideas are coming from a selfish place. It's coming from a place of he wants things to be a certain way, and he's not listening to what Jesus wants overall. He's missing every single lesson. We talked about this all throughout season 4. Man, there was a lot of different things there that he just kept on getting wrong over and over again.
One of his dumb ideas was, hey, what if we hired people to do laundry? And then Simon Z becomes extremely wise in that moment beyond his years and says, no, we will do our own laundry. Okay, cool. What if we, took up some alms and stuff? And then everybody joined together. It's like, that's not what we do, Judas. So I just keep doing that over and over again, even though everybody tells me that I'm wrong. And I'm just like, I think there's an overwhelming frustration from Judas. He can't seem to connect to anything. I think it's like this.
I think that is 100% true. I think that Judas in history probably was very frustrated with Jesus, which is why he betrayed him. Not because he was mad that Jesus, it's not that he was mad that Jesus wasn't doing something, but he was mad that Jesus wasn't fulfilling what he had promised that he would fulfill, right? At least in Judas's mind. It was the fact that Jesus didn't kill the Romans and didn't come in as a king and didn't give Judas a spot on that team. Right. And so because of that, he's like, okay, well, here's how it's going to go. Jesus is either not the Messiah or he is the Messiah, and I'm going to force him to go into this. Right. Either I'm going to betray him, and he is either going to kill all these Romans and actually take up the sword and to do the things that I think he's going to do, or he will die and he is not the Messiah. Right? That's kind of the quandary in which Judas, I think, was going into the betrayal with. And so, yeah, I could see the frustration. Absolutely.
Huge affection and obsession that is not reciprocated. I think the relationship looks like, Selena, like the singer? Remember that one lady who was like super obsessed with her and then ended up like shooting her?
There are so many of you out there that are just like crying right now, like remembering that situation. I know a lot of like really big Selena fans.
I think it's something like that. Like, this is a man who is walking with Jesus, literally right next to him, but didn't understand any of his teachings. I've taken it.
I wouldn't equate Judas. I wouldn't equate Judas to the killer of Selena. I think it's a completely different thing, but sure.
As kind of a challenge to see, what can I do with a character that everyone's already decided they refuse to like, or they're going to refuse to even give a chance? And I'm like, all right, great, I'm going to infuse this character with as much empathy and emotion that I can. I tried to implement a kindness and a caring to him in like season 3 for those around him. And I tried to carry that on to the other seasons as well. As easy as it is to see someone purely and plainly as this single-minded villain, that's not how people work. That's not how humans work.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
And I think that's all just bubbling up and culminating to the ultimate break of what season 5 is going to walk into, which is the grand welcome of Jerusalem and then the ultimate misdirection reveal of what Jesus is actually there to do. Not to conquer, but to reinvent the entire wheel.
Yeah, I love I love how Luke in real time is misunderstanding or misrepresenting Jesus's message as well, because there's no kind of trickery, right? He uses the word that there's this kind of bait and switch, like there's this misunderstanding, there's this what's the exact word that he said? Let me go back.
Jesus is actually there to do, not to conquer, which is the grand welcome of Jerusalem and then the ultimate misdirection reveal of what.
Yeah, misdirection reveal. So this, I think, is a very false way of looking at what Jesus said, because Jesus was very clear. He was very plain. He was very blunt about what was going to happen. He talked about it all the time. The kingdom of heaven is like this. The Son of Man will go to Jerusalem and they will flog him and they will beat him and they will kill him and then he will rise, right? Like all of these things were very, very plain before the triumphal entry, before all this stuff, during the last 3.5 years that Judas was with him, right? All of these things were very, very plain. So there was no misdirection, I think, in what Jesus was doing. Like he didn't go into the city like, yay, I'm a conquering king. Just kidding, and then switch it up, you know? Like, that didn't happen. So there's no misdirection there. I would say that for sure. It's just that I think Judas it obviously did not understand what was happening there. So maybe he feels like it was a misdirection for him. But Jesus was very, very plain. He was very, very clear in what he was supposed to be doing. Obviously, I love Luke's portrayal of Judas. I think he's done an amazing job. I've spoken to him since season 2, season 3 about all this stuff. I was one of the first people to talk to him and interview him during when we started this channel, or when we started our previous channel, actually. And so I really believe he's a great actor. He really understands the heart of what needs to be done for this show, for sure. Although some of these things I probably would disagree with a little bit with him, for sure.
What Jesus is actually there to do, not to conquer, but to reinvent the entire wheel.
Yeah, super, super cool stuff there. Let's jump over to Tamar, Amber's episode here. Hey, real quick, I hope you're enjoying these videos. We put a lot of work into making these videos the best that we possibly can for you guys. If you want to help to support our channel and support what we do here on The Chosen Sleuth, then the best way to do that is through snipesupport.com. This is our Patreon where you can donate $5, $10, or $25 a month in order to help us to continue to make videos just like this, to have the time to spend hours and hours and hours and hours doing research and putting these videos together. Anyway, let's get back to the video. Thank you guys so much for your support. And see what she has to say.
My name is Amber Shannon. My name is Amber Shannon Williams. I play Tamar. She's also known as the Gentile or Ethiopian woman. One of the most iconic lines in the series that people like to shout at me from the windows is, "Your faith is beautiful."
Yeah, this is interesting. So Tamar is a lot different than Judas. There's a lot more leeway for her because she's not a biblical character. We do know that a lot of people followed Jesus, and there are women that are probably not named that followed Jesus. So it makes sense that they could add in a woman that's like Tamar. She's a Gentile, so it's interesting also that they kind of give Gaius the title of the first converted Gentile when that's not true. Like it's obviously Tamar, right? Because she's not Jewish and she didn't like believe the same things that everybody else believed whenever she brought her friend to be healed by Jesus. So anyway, it's an interesting thing here. Her character is just a little bit weird for me in terms of like biblically, like where the story goes and what's happening here and how she fits into it. Because if she was such a big part of it, like we're seeing here, then we would have probably seen her named, but we don't, obviously.
has gone through so much. She suffered tremendous loss. Her entire family was massacred. When she lost them as a woman, once you are without a family, without a man leading some household in the first century, you're basically worthless. So I think about all of these things, and I admire her so much because despite all of that, she still found a way to start over again. She became a businesswoman, and she was good at it. She's like, I'm going to figure this out. You would never know she was a princess at some point in time.
Yeah, I just think I just think her character as a whole, for me, and this is just me, it just holds less weight, right? Because it's not a biblical character. It's not someone that you can build off of looking at the scriptures or things like that. So her character as a whole, just it's almost like you got to be careful because it's almost can be a stumbling block of like, she could mess up some stuff, you know? So you got to be careful about that.
She was selling flowers. So she would go out in the hot. Let me tell you, it was hot. It was just Texas hot. I can imagine what would have been hot in Capernaum back in those days. And she's out there picking flowers. And that's where she makes her first encounter with Jesus, was on that road. And not only did she start over at that point to get to that place, but she started over again when she left all of that behind in order to follow Jesus as well. We see her fighting so hard to find a place and to be purposeful. Look how useful I am. Look what I can do for you. And I think that it rubbed people the wrong way because things that are not like us make us uncomfortable. And out of everyone, she is the most unlike.
Yeah, that's very true. I would say though, two things. I think she talks about the weather in Capernaum versus Texas, and she's like, it's probably hotter in Israel. It's not. It's like it's more like Tennessee in Israel than Texas. So Texas is probably hotter, and especially in the Capernaum area, that area is beautiful and it's a little bit more elevated. So you actually get some really really nice weather over there. Now, if you're in like the Dead Sea, that place is hot, but it's very far away from the Dead Sea. And then Jerusalem would be even colder because it's even more higher elevation. But what she's saying here, how her character is different than everybody else. The one criticism I probably have of Tamar overall is her jewelry and stuff. I know there's this whole storyline of how it's like part of her family and stuff. But I think that Jesus probably would have challenged her in that and been like, hey, I know this is like part of your family and you feel like you're connected to it, but there could be some like they talk about it in the show, like it smacks of animism, right? Or like this ancestry type worship type deal. If she wasn't willing to get rid of that necklace and stuff for the group whenever they were poor, then it would mean more to her than the ministry. It would mean more to her than Jesus, right? So that's one of the points in the show that I'm like, I would have liked to see her get rid of those things for the purpose of the church. So maybe we'll see that later, right? Maybe during the beginning of the early church, we see her actually selling that jewelry and really going full in for the church right there for the beginning of the church in Acts, right? That's definitely a possibility to see there, but that's one of my criticisms there. But of course, that's where the connection comes from with all her family and all that kind of stuff there.
And so she makes a lot of people uncomfortable who enter a space for the first time with her. And I know what that's like. I relate to her so much because people read me and they don't know, they have an expectation when they look at me, and sometimes I defy them and sometimes I fulfill them. I never know. But one thing I love and admire about her is that it's a lot less important to her than it is to me.
I really hope that's not like a race thing. Some of you are going to hate me for saying that, but man, I really hope that's not a race thing. Okay, I'll move on because I'll say something dumb here.
She's like, you're going to feel like you're going to feel this out of my business. And look, I would love to be more like her because she says the things that we think and she stands on them. And she expects Mary to understand. Like, girl, you're amazing. You're amazing. I'm trying to be amazing like you. Like, I'm trying to be useful. Like, you're perfect. I want to be like that. They have this conversation and they find out that they've been comparing each other's weaknesses to the other's strength. It gave Tamar an opportunity to be like, this is why I am the way I am. And Mary is like, this is why I am the way I am. And we've both been projecting that on the other person. Because it's not just hard being projected on you that you are this smart mouth, tough, sassy, business-minded kind of girl. It's also tough always having that projected on you being the good girl. You can't make mistakes.
Yeah, I think both sides are hard for sure. And there's a lot more sides than just those two for sure.
This journey that she went through to self-realization is that she did not need to work so hard for that, because it was freely and graciously given to her already. And so we see in season 5 that she's no longer struggling to be purposeful. I feel like this is the final reinvention for her, because she's like, oh, I have found my greatest purpose, and there's no more guessing about it. And that's the security that she's found in this family.
Yeah, but until that family breaks, right? So like, she's going to have that security in the family, which I agree. She's definitely come to a place of like, I finally have found my family. And then all of her family is going to die, right? Not only Jesus, but all the apostles, all the people around her pretty much are all going to die. So it's like, and then she's going to be hunted down for her faith. So it's like, what kind of decision does she make then? Is she the type of person that's going to stick with this forever? Or what I would like to see in some of these characters that are kind of non-biblical is like to see them fall away. What does it look like when someone who is so close to Jesus, other than outside of Judas, right? We know that other people walked away. We know that other people had an impact with Jesus and then walked away from it anyway, right? I don't know. I would like to see some of that too. It'd be really interesting to see Tamar. It would be very hard to watch, right? Someone who was there the whole time, committed and loved him. And yes, we're seeing a similar story with Judas. But to see them come out on a different side would be really, really interesting to see. Yeah. Anyway, interesting characters. Obviously, Tamar and Judas are very integral to the show. They've been there for a long time. Originally, Tamar was only supposed to be a day player. She was only supposed to be around for one day shooting that one episode, and then they brought her back for season 2, and then obviously she's been a part of the group since the end of season 2 and has been a large portion of this, right? Having interactions with Mary and with all the rest of the group and becoming more a part of it. So really interesting stuff. I always love hearing from their perspectives, what they think about the actors and things. I think I'm just so biased from a biblical perspective that it's hard for me to look at the show without that, which I think is a good thing probably. But anyway, so let me know your thoughts about this. Do you think I'm wrong? Do you think I said something too harsh? Anyway, we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.